The Premier League race for Europe is crazy. Newcastle have just battered Ipswich 3-0, and it could have definitely been more goals. Kieran Trippier, excellent with 2 assists today. Bruno, I thought, put in a very good performance, and Tonali doing what Tonali does nearly every game, which is just run and run and run and just be a very good player. But this is a huge win for Newcastle United. Of course, you'd expect them to beat Ipswich. Ipswich now relegated. But this race for the top 5, this race for Europe, even the race for 7th and 8th and potentially 9th, depending on who wins the cups, could get you in Europe, but I think it will be top 8, is insane this season. But look how close it is. Newcastle in 3rd, they could go in 4th if Forest do win their game in hand. Newcastle, City, Chelsea and Forest, there's 2 points between them with 4 games to go. Chelsea have to play Forest and they have to play Newcastle. It's a big, big race to the end. Villa cannot be ruled out of that race for Champions League football. So every 3 points for Newcastle at this moment in time is huge, because although Europa League is still a good competition to be in, I think you guys want Champions League, the prestige, the extra money it brings in. Right now, I think Chelsea could be the one that drops out, but I also think, could it be too difficult for Forest? We'll have to wait and see. Chelsea have Manchester United, which, to be honest, as a Man United fan, probably won't be a difficult game for them. They've got to play Forest, they've got to play Newcastle, but you guys have got to play Arsenal, but you do have a good record against them, and they've got nothing to play for. They'll be focused on the Champions League. Everton, you should win. Brighton away is a difficult game, but the big game is Chelsea at St James's Park. I think if you win that, you'll be in Europe. So let's review let's review Newcastle 3, Ipswich 0, this massive game in the race for Europe. And obviously wins are just important as well. You've got to beat your teams like Ipswich. They can sometimes make it difficult. Obviously going down to 10 men helped. You were the better team. You deserved to win. You could have won by more. But the goals help the confidence, the momentum, I think, at this point in the season is really, really important. So very good performance from Newcastle. In general, I thought Gimmer's, Tonali, Trippier were really good. I thought the wingers were decent. I thought Willock grew into the game, to be fair, and did all right. Isak was hoping he'd score more because he was my captain in FPL. Probably a quiet game for Isak, but, still gets his goals, still has influence. Just a very, very good player. So let's dive into it. So as I said, this is a big win in the race for Europe. It's absolutely vital that you've got to almost win every game in this top 5 race, because, look, Chelsea will probably drop points. Man City could easily drop points, so could Forest, but you just don't know. You've almost got to win every game. Every game is like a cup final. And the higher you finish, the more money you get, the more money you have to spend in the summer, where PSR, as Newcastle fans will know, is incredibly important. I think UCL football is just important, I think, for the prestige. I think Newcastle win the Europa League. I think Newcastle can challenge in the Champions League because they've proven that they can take on the big teams. Arsenal, Carabao Cup semi-final over 2 legs, beat them. You can beat all the big teams. I say Man United, but we're not a good team. PSG at St James's Park last year. Newcastle are very capable in those big games. They're very physically good. They're very capable in those big games, and they're set up quite well for big games. And I think they'll do very well in the Champions League. And I think also the spending power in the pool, it will help you in the summer to bring in the players you want, because it's very competitive. Huijsen would be a great fit for you, but there's 5 other teams that want Huijsen. Cunha is a good player, but obviously Manchester United and loads of other clubs want Cunha. There's the lap, but obviously I think you'll keep Isak. And Mbeumo, I think you might get Mbeumo. I have a feeling you're going to get Mbeumo this summer, or Liverpool could be in for him. But I think it gives you that extra edge being in the Champions League when pushing for players, because there's going to be a lot of competition, because I think a lot of the Premier League clubs are going for the same players, and a lot of the clubs are shopping in the league. But you now have 8 days off before a tough trip to Brighton, and then Chelsea the following week. I think this week for Newcastle is just about rest, get ready for that game at Brighton. Brighton were losing to West Ham, but I believe they won 3-2. Let me check that. Yeah, they won 3-2. They were 2-1 down, and I'm pretty sure they scored 2 late goals. And the winner coming from Belieber. I do rate Belieber. I tell you what, I think Newcastle's first signing this summer will be a centre-back. I have a feeling you're going to bring James Trafford. I have a feeling you're going to go for an Mbeumo or a right winger, despite Murphy doing well, because he can also play striker, and it provides you an option for Isak. But also, shout out to Osula today. Really good goal, really good header. But I wouldn't be surprised if he went for another midfielder. There was a report somewhere I read, I don't know if it's true, about Miley potentially going out on loan. Willock's future isn't necessarily secure. You lost Elliot Anderson, you didn't replace him. Believe it will be a shout at Newcastle, to be fair. But let's get into my notes. So, dominant performance, probably could have been more. I thought you were all over Ipswich. First off, I think you were frustrated a bit. I thought Bruno's goal was unlucky to be ruled out. Could understand the ref was getting on a lot of Newcastle fans' nerves. I don't think the ref was particularly good today. I think despite the red card and penalty, I think a lot of decisions did go Ipswich way. But you were all over Ipswich, you dominated them. I think you were a little bit frustrated in the first half, but the second half, once you got that Isak goal, you just came out, and the amount of crosses that came in, balls that came in, how dominant you were, how you were just constantly on the ball. Yeah, Newcastle were absolutely fantastic. I should have got the match stats up actually. I'm not very prepared for this video. I do apologise. I should have made sure to get the match stats up and stuff as well. But it just felt like Newcastle was on the ball a whole lot this game. They were attacking most of the game. Yeah, look at the stats here. I've got the stats now, actually. Let me share them. It was a very dominant display. Let me share this here. The match stats, as you can see, Newcastle 25 shots. They didn't have a single shot on target. Ipswich 22% possession to 78. That's so dominant. I didn't even look at the stats, but I was just thinking, like just now, let me look at the stats because I felt like Newcastle must have had nearly 80% possession, 617 passes to 181. Like it's actually crazy, like how dominant Newcastle were. Like I barely remember Ipswich on the ball or really doing anything. It was a ridiculously dominant performance from Newcastle. One of the performances you need when you need the 3 points, but the performance can help the momentum and all of that as well. But I thought you were good. You were good from set pieces today. I think you went up a gear once you scored. I thought Bruno Guimaraes was excellent today. Actually, not just the fact that he had a goal that was ruled out, which would have been good, but I thought he put some really good passes in, really good balls in. My star performer, though, I'm going to give a shout out to Trippier. Now I remember. Not that long ago, there was Trippier to Saudi shouts. And I think, with his age, you will have to look at potentially, could we offload him this summer while we can still get money for him? He's on higher wages. Yeah, of course, Trippier could go this summer. But I think he's been really impressive these last few matches. I think, the Liverpool match was really impressive. He, was it the Arsenal game? Even in a leadership's performance, which got you to that Carabao Cup final, a lot of big games Trippier stepped up in. And I think at this point in the season, when mentality is a big thing, at this point in this season, I think mentality is bigger than a lot of people give it credit for, because you've got to just get these wins over the line, no matter how much. Every game is like a cup final. I think a player like Trippier and his experience is really important. But also, I just think his performance has been quite good lately. He's solid defensively today, but it was just, I think when you've got a lot of the balls, it suits Trippier. If you're dominating possession, you have a lot of the ball in a game, it suits Trippier, because even though he's not always the most attacking threat, he's someone that can just deliver a world-class pass or a world-class ball. He doesn't need to have dribbles and do this and do that. He just needs one opportunity to put a good ball in the box, and his delivery is brilliant. And he did that, obviously, 2 assists today with the corners. Trippier can just provide such a unique threat with his just ability in set pieces, his ability just to put a cross and play that pass. And I think he's been really good lately. Obviously, the assist for the Osula goal was a really good goal from Osula. I think that's important for him, young lad, for his confidence. I'd be interested to see him getting more minutes at Newcastle. I actually like what I see from Osula. And I don't really know much about him, so I quite like to watch him a bit more. Let me know, Newcastle fans down below, what do you think on Will Osula? Do you like him? I've barely seen him, but I think he looks like exciting player. I quite like him. I was doing the step overs as well. But yeah, I think Trippier had a little bit of a dip. There was Saudi talks, but I think he's bounced back a lot. Been key in the big games, brought the mentality. But as I said, he's one of those where even if he was having a poor game or he wasn't providing much in attack, all of a sudden he just needs to make one pass in the 85th minute, and that one pass can be an assist. But today he was excellent across the full match. Today I thought he was absolutely excellent across the full match. It was a leadership display. Continuing on, I thought Bruno G and Tonali ran the midfield today. Obviously, you can tell Newcastle ran the midfield. All you have to just look at the statistics. But with my eye, they were standing out again. Tonali, every game. I feel like Tonali is just consistency. That's the word for Tonali, just consistently good. His ground coverage, his technical quality, very good. His work rate, very good. He's always running. He's always everywhere. He does a lot of the dirty work, which allows Bruno Guimaraes to stay higher up. And Bruno Guimaraes showed today, really good passes, really good creativity. Thought Bruno Guimaraes was excellent on the ball today, brought that control. But Tonali gives him the license to do that. Tonali is the key. You didn't sign anyone this summer. You haven't signed anyone in the last 3 windows. But all of a sudden, you look so much better. And that's because this season you've had a bit more luck with injuries. But Tonali coming back in is that new signing. He's one of those players that you can see makes a huge impact in Newcastle, because since Tonali started playing and Longstaff's moved to the bench, there's a whole different level that Newcastle are playing at. He makes Bruno better. He makes the team better. He makes the defence better, because he's everywhere physically, but he's also very good on the ball. And I thought they were, incredible in midfield. And it's just becoming the norm for Tonali. I thought Bruno actually had a better game than Tonali today. I thought he was really good in terms of had a lot of the ball in that final five, played a few good passes. I thought they were excellent. Continuing on, I think Newcastle's attacking threat is serious. Newcastle have now scored 65 goals. Only Liverpool and City have more. Isak has 28 goal contributions in 31 Premier League games. He's got more goals than Haaland this season. I don't think Isak had his best game today, but he's got the pace, he's got the flair, he's got the creativity. That's why he's one of the most wanted strikers in Europe. But I think Newcastle are going to keep Isak. If you get Champions League football, you 100% keep Isak. But even if you don't, I think you're going to keep Isak. I thought Murphy and Barnes put in some decent deliveries, direct, aggressive. When Anthony Gordon's on your bench, that's when you know you've got good wingers. Because Anthony Gordon, arguably, a couple of months ago, everybody said best left winger in the Premier League. You know, probably is. There's Diaz, there's Rashford when he's in form is good, but like the left wingers lack in the league. I think Gordon arguably is the best left winger in the league. And the fact that he's now on the bench because Barnes has been really good, he can't get another Murphy. It just shows the quality Newcastle have. Newcastle have one of the best attacks in Europe, and you're probably going to add to that in the summer. You know, you've got the best young fullback pairing. You've got Tonali and Bruno in the engine room, and they're very good technically as well. And the attacking quality you have, like I'm a Man United fan, our attack stinks. You've got 65 goals this season. You can put players like Anthony Gordon on the bench. It just shows the real quality Newcastle have an attack this season. I think your defence is absolutely solid. I think Shah and Burns solid today, but Shah is ageing. I think there's a little bit of a lack of pace in your back line, and I do think your priority is probably going to be a younger, more mobile centre-back this summer, your long-term Shah replacement. I think you, as good as Burn has been this season and as good as Shah is, I think Botman and a long-term right centre-back is probably what Newcastle's long-term plan is. If Botman could stay fit and you get a right centre-back that's very mobile, very physical, but also good on the ball. I think Huijsen would be an unbelievable signing, but as I said, there's a lot of competition. I want to give a shout out to Osula, well taken goal. Physicality, he used very well with the timing. What a header, by the way. What a header. And he's probably a player with confidence. He'll play better as well. But I think it's worth giving Osula more chances. So, yeah, just my final takeaways from the game. And I apologise that this was a bit of a disorganised match reaction. I do apologise, but I thought it was a strong win, professional win, what Newcastle needed. I thought Trippier, Bruno, Barnes was probably stand out today. Maybe swap Tonali for Barnes. Momentum, this is the right time to get momentum. Brighton and Chelsea, massive tests. But Champions League football's in Newcastle's hands. You beat Brighton away, which will be difficult. You beat Chelsea at home, and that's a 6-pointer. And I think Champions League football's in your hands. I think it's going to be a tough race, but a lot of the other teams also have tough games. Thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.